Alright, hello, greetings, and welcome everyone to this news video. I am the Ninjaneer. The topics we are covering today are as follows. Tailosive on Hyundai software. TEN on the Polestar 4. Aptera factory updates. Aptera's Earth Day post. Yasa, but the factory. Tailosive interviews Telo. The goal of a company. Never forget. And the things I liked. Let's get going. Alright, ladies and gents, this first story is basically about how Hyundai has improved with respect to their software. Tailosive does a very comprehensive overview of what improvements they've made with their software and how that affects the customer experience and all kinds of fun stuff like that. This video is actually very solid and puts into contention several of the Hyundai models that I had not before considered. I had actually been kind of thinking about Hyundai for quite some time with respect to a possibility for a vehicle if my favorite vehicle companies don't actually make it to fruition. So it's good to see that they are actively improving on their software as time goes on, making sure that the experience continually gets better. So this video is a great indicator for the things that have changed and improved in their software, and kind of makes a good case for the vehicle, assuming something happens to Aptera, which I don't think is going to, or happens to Telo, which again, not likely. Well, actually is likely, but I believe in them. So there we go. Both companies are pushing so far, so fast with so little that it's hard for me to think that they won't make it. But in the event that they don't, if they do not make it, then I would consider a Hyundai because of the way that this video was so all-encompassing with respect to his opinion about the Hyundai software experience and things like that. So yeah, good times there. Another vehicle that has been put on my radar for, I guess, in the event that something happens, is the Polestar 4. I don't think of myself as an SUV kind of guy, so in general, I would probably consider the smaller vehicles in the lineup, the Polestar 3, that kind of thing. But if I did if I did have a hankering for an SUV, then the Polestar 4 would probably be the way I would go for like the luxury style experience. Which is interesting because I don't really get luxury necessarily. Like, I understand that it exists and that it's nice and that it's cushy and things like that. I even own an Acura TLX specifically because I wanted to try and understand what luxury means to the average person who wants it, and I still find myself confused 9 times out of 10, because while a warmed steering wheel is a wonderful thing, and while a heated seat in the winter is phenomenal, I don't really see much use of that kind of stuff outside of specific situations. I remember with my Type R, I consistently had a very cold steering wheel in the mornings, and what I would do is I would hold the places that were not as cold, like the threading, the stitching, and things like that. That stuff was not as cold, and so you could hold there and be better off. Yeah, so I guess the warm steering wheel might be a safer situation if you're not wanting to grip the steering wheel and feel the cold until you've warmed that one specific spot with your hand. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff about luxury that I just don't tend to get. But anyway, Polestar 4 seemed like a really cool vehicle based on the review, so I would say check it out. Check the video out, not necessarily the Polestar 4, if you are curious about what this vehicle is and what it is trying to do. Okay, so I'm noticing that they are playing around with a lot of different color combinations when it comes to Aptera's exterior. You can see that because in the very next piece of the puzzle here, you can see them doing their Happy Earth Day pictures with a green Aptera. You can see these guys moving down the line. In case you were not familiar with the line and you did not get the chance to watch through any of the videos that have anything to do with the assembly line, this is very nearly the end of the line. If you stand up here on top on this little causeway, yeah, right up here, you can see the entire assembly line, and this section is actually the second to last, I believe, and the last stations for the Aptera before wrapping and things like that, I think. No, wait. Let me think. Yeah, no, these are the third to last and second to last stations. Yeah, I believe that's right. And so, yeah, these two vehicles, I'm assuming the second and third production intent vehicles are near the end of the line. There were a lot of people that were speculating. Some folks sent me emails about the fact that it's possible that the reason why this vehicle is still on the production line and not fully completed is that they discovered something on the line that requires them to go and rethink the way that they put the components in and that kind of stuff. I do believe that that is possible, but I also think that because they have so many other vehicles lined up behind it, all of the stuff that they are figuring out with this second vehicle, they are iterating into the next sets of vehicles. So I think that after the second vehicle comes off the line, everything else is going to go much faster because they will have ironed out most of the kinks. Maybe after the second or the third, but most definitely after the third, I believe they'll have everything set up so that they'll be able to get the production line going. Just wanted to show you guys these as well. They actually took pictures of the Tailosive. They actually took pictures of the green. I think it is phenomenal as well. It's one of those things that you did not expect Aptera to do, but I believe that the wrap company just wanted to kind of show off their awesome colors, and Aptera was like, yeah, give us a green, and they're like, oh, we'll give you a green, and then they gave them this stunning translucent film, color transitioning sort of film that it looks awesome. I'm sorry, like if I were to get an Aptera today and it wasn't like black, I'm looking at getting a jet black one after the launch edition, maybe even transitioning my launch edition to a black. But anyway, yeah, if it weren't for the black, I would definitely want to go for this very cool green. Yeah, just throwing that out there. Good job, Aptera team. Whoever made this choice for the green, yeah, well done. Okay, if you'll remember last week I talked about Yasa Motors and how Zeroth broke down a specific how the motor works situation. This particular video is about the factory itself and how this wonderful creature is made, speaking of the motor. Generally speaking, the factory tour was fascinating from start to finish. I watched the entire thing more than once because I wanted to see all the little intricate details and things and try and suss out some of the technology as it goes. And yeah, I was doing that, and every time I looked through it, I found something new and something cool. So I would suggest you guys go and take a look at this video at least once so that you have a reference point for the just phenomenal engineering that goes into a vehicle motor of this type. So yeah, just take a look at it. Trust me, it's amazing. Yeah, that'll be about it. So if you've ever wondered about the CEO of Telo Trucks and his thought process behind producing the vehicle and his background as a technologist and as a car fan, a tinkerer, if you will, this is the interview for you. Not only does Tailosive ask amazing questions, his follow-ups are also top-notch. The entire interview, the general tone is very upbeat, very open, and very honest. So take a look if you guys are interested in the CEO, or should I say co-CEO of Telo. Yeah, good times there. So this video highlighted something that I have been telling my kids recently, and mentioning to everyone that will sit down and pay attention to me, the purpose of a company, especially a U.S. company in this particular climate, is to make money. They will do anything to make money. They will cheat you. They will lie to you. They will steal from you if you let them. Everything that they do is to make money. That is what a company is. There are ethical companies out there that are less bloodthirsty when it comes to taking your money. But at the end of the day, a company as an entity, not the people in the company, I'm not talking about like the people in them necessarily, but the company itself as an entity is made to take money from you. And so it is not surprising that here we are talking about a video by two of my favorite YouTubers in the tech space, Mr. Who's the Boss and Marquez Brownlee, talking about all of the ways that they use language to lie about what their true abilities are and capabilities are with respect to technology. They go over the entire gamut. They talk about cell phones, they talk about TVs, they talk about computers, all of this stuff that is incentivized, generally speaking, to make sure that they get as much money out of you as possible by thinking, getting you to think that you're getting better value than what you are actually getting, or making you think that the math that they're doing is in the interest of you instead of in the interest of them, the company. So yeah, this is a phenomenal video, but the only reason why it's not in the things that I like section is because I do not like this. I don't like the fact that companies feel the need to do this. If they were not so sensational about all of their claims, if they just told you like it was, I believe that marketing teams would have a lot less difficult job, for first of all. Second of all, we would have a lot better representation of the reality around us. And third of all, when people have a thought about a product and intend to buy something, they would be less inclined to think, are these people actually cheating me out of something? So yeah, all of those things would be much better if, in general, companies were less slimy, I guess, about how they present their information. So yeah, this is one of those things that I've been thinking about, and I know that I would have never had the time to put together as detailed a video as this. So go ahead and check it out. It is outstanding. It is eye-opening. It taught me a couple of things that I didn't even know about when it came to this particular methodology of language and how they try to get you, basically. So yeah, check it out. All right, so on to the things that I liked. It is always consistently interesting to me how resilient nature is. Not only because of, the things that I get to see and experience in the world, how the weeds in my yard are so darn persistent and seem to come back up every single time, regardless of how many times I pull them or spray weed killer on them. There's a certain robustness to nature that is kind of betrayed or hidden behind its beauty. So in this case, we are talking about a bit of moss. Scientists took moss and stuck it to the outside of the International Space Station. It stayed there for 286 days. They brought it back into the Earth's atmosphere and planted it again, and then it started growing again. So basically, moss proved that it is possible for at least this type of plant to survive in the most extreme environment in the entire solar system and come back and flourish the same way that it did before it was taken out into space. And so, yeah, it's just really cool. Like, this article endeared me even more to nature, although it may have the unintended effect of making people think that we can abuse nature that much more because it's that resilient. But yeah, I don't, I don't know that that message would be the best to take from this situation. So generally speaking, this is really cool. Moss is really resilient. Human beings are able to think their way into resilience. So there's that. Yeah, it's just interesting. I find this type of news interesting when you see the extremes to which nature can adapt. It's always cool. Okay, so this is a guy who I just found. Everything EV. He talks a lot about things that make me happy in general, but this particular video, this man even has a chart that you can click that breaks down how expensive an EV is compared to a gas vehicle of similar size and vehicle class. So he goes through, he explains it really well, he tells about his math and how he got to where he got to. He goes through some examples and shows state by state how this is supposed to go, that kind of thing. Now, what I don't know is whether or not he's planning on updating these gas prices at all. But if he does keep those updated, maybe like pull a script in and get the data from a website or something. And I don't know how he would do that, but if he could make that update consistently, that would be the only really cool thing that I would want to see happen in this particular video. It's such a good video, such a strong case for electric vehicles. In fact, he comes to a conclusion at the end that actually surprises the heck out of me. Like, even in my mind, I imagined that this could be possible, but the degree and level to which it is possible is absolutely insane to me. So check this video out if you have any interest in finding out how much money you are going to be spending on your electric vehicle if you don't already have one. But yeah, it's a great starting point for someone who is beginning to research getting an EV, especially if you have a gas car today. Okay, that will be the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am Once More Than Engineer. If you like this video, please do all of those YouTube-y things, the liking, the subscribing, the hyping, because again, hyping is doing wonders for my channel. I never thought that that was going to be a big deal, but here we are talking about hyping as the primary form of getting my channel out there. So yeah, there's that. But also, make sure that if you would like to support me and make me able to do this full time, you go ahead and click the links down below in order to donate to and or support this channel. You guys are the goats who have already actually started supporting the channel. You guys are amazing. I, as always, am consistently consumed by the thought of the wonderful nature of the people in this community. It's great, honestly. So thank you guys for being yourselves. Thank you guys for being awesome. Thank you guys for watching. I will catch you guys next time.